Welcome to today's episode. Today, we are going to talk about some epic marketing being done in one of the most interesting industries out there, the restaurant industry. Our guest is Michael Ungaro. He is the CEO of the San Pedro Fish Market, and he is going to share some of the great things that his family has been doing with their business, with marketing, that is truly remarkable. Welcome to the show.
Hey, it's great to be here.
Let's start off by having you give a little bit of context about who you are and what you do. I think it's really fascinating what you and your family have done with your business. And until I had researched and read a little bit about it, I didn't understand, and I was really impressed.
I'm currently hold the role of CEO and visionary, as well as a part owner of the Kings of Fish web series, as well as the San Pedro Fish Market. They're all family owned and operated, originally founded by my grandfather, and I'm third generation. Originally opened in 1956, 200 square foot small restaurant, sells seafood to the locals, and we turned into one of the largest restaurants in the country. And I attribute a lot of that, at least about a decade's worth, to the marketing programs that I helped put together and the marketing team I helped to build.
And so when you say it's one of the largest restaurants, talk to people a little bit about the size, because I was impressed
Oh, sure.
about that.
Well, through the end of 2022, really right up at the March 3rd of 2023, we were at 50, our main locations were at 55,000 square feet. We had 3,000 seats, and we served at the end of 2022, I would serve about 2 million people there. So to put that into perspective, on the West Coast, like the entire Western seaboard, the only non-subsidized business to have more visitors than us was SeaWorld. So we would make us number two.
Wow, that is pretty awesome marketing to get that many people coming through. And you've won a few Guinness Book World Records. What records have you won?
So we had for about 20 years, we were providing and cooking and serving the lobsters in the Port of Los Angeles Lobster Festival, which is probably the largest lobster festival in the country, serving Maine lobsters. And one year, the idea was by the producer of the festival, because it was also a music festival. We only did the lobsters. There's a lot of other stuff going on in the festival, but the lobsters were the main draw. We had worked a deal through the producer did to do a Guinness World Record, but they wouldn't let us put the word lobster on it. So it's just seafood. And we sold something like, I forget, like 18,000 pounds of lobster or something crazy in a day. It's a huge number. I forget the number right now. But because it was seafood, somebody in a foreign country decided to do sardines and beat us. So we went back to Guinness and we're like, listen, what do we need to do to put the word lobster in here? So nobody could beat us because nobody's selling this many lobsters. We do 30,000 lobsters in a weekend at this festival. And so, we were pulling in people from all over the place. And so we worked out a deal where we were able to do 3 lobsters in a single day. It was most in a cooker at one time, most in a single like vessel, like to be served to somebody, like a pot, basically like serving dish. And then the rest was how many to serve over, I think it was a 6 or 8 hour period. And so we crushed all those, set all the records, own them to this day. And no one's come close because no one be really, why would anybody be dumb enough to take on that kind of financial risk?
You are the king of lobster stats. I love it. It's great. And you guys serve huge trays of shrimp
Mhm.
and whole fish, and you put like a whole lobster on the tray. Like, I have an important question. If
Mhm.
you get a tray with a whole lobster on it, do you get to name the lobster?
Yeah, sure. If you're okay with eating it.
Is it like your pet until you eat it? Like,
Yeah. You know, like the way that evolved and what really set us apart, like we became this experiential brand because at first, I always said, but in the middle of the story, Good Friday, 1982, I'm 11 years old. We opened San Pedro Fish Market. It had been functioning for a long time under a different name, but we got evicted. They're redeveloping the waterfront. We had to work out of a parking lot for a year. And then on Good Friday, you reopened as San Pedro Fish, and then it rained the whole summer. So we had no customer. So my uncle and my dad, again, I'm 11 years old at the time, they're just experimenting with all this stuff. I saw this junkyard. They had this rendering thing for cows. We could turn it into a barbecue and we'll just, for $1, we'll cook fish for people and they can eat it outside. I saw this thing called fajitas at a Mexican restaurant. We can get griddles and do fajitas. So this thing evolved with all these different ways to cook fish where the customer could come and point to or literally hold a fish they wanted, bring it to us, pay for it, bring it to the kitchen, watch it cooked. And those turned into these giant trays. And when social media came out, that became something people could share and geotag. And that's when it really exploded. That's when we were like, I think number 5 or 7 on the top 10 most Instagram restaurants in the country, like 3 years in a row, because people were sharing those pictures that you saw.
Wow, and I bet that in itself, just being one of the most Instagram restaurants in the top 10, I bet that really helps drive a lot of the 2 million visitors in
It,
itself. People wanna go to great places.
it totally did. And we weren't even monitoring that. We had Instagram, but we were focused on Facebook at the time. And so when that happened, we were on CNN and Time Magazine. I'm like, what is this? It was customers doing that. And we're like, we're not tapping into something that's really important here. So that was right around the time we were about to launch the first season of our web series that we're experimenting with. Because when we set the 3 Guinness World Record, a film crew asked us if they could film it. And let's see what your family's like in front of the camera. And they turned it into a sizzle reel. They tried to shop it around. Nobody bought it. They gave it back to us. We used it for some marketing things. And I realized we could do a lot with this if we could make it ourselves. So we were about to launch Kings of Fish based on that sizzle reel that another company made at the same time the Instagram thing came out. So it was the convergence of two really powerful things. We were putting Kings of Fish on Facebook. Our customers were putting us on Instagram, and they converged, and like we exploded.
So I wanna talk a little bit about this Kings of Fish series, because I think this is fascinating for a amazing restaurant business like yours to go into. Before we jump into that, I just want to set the context that I think everybody's aware that times are not easy in the restaurant business right now. We've lost the Red Lobster. Hundreds of restaurants are closing locations because of things like inflation and labor costs and the costs of food. I think there's a lot of things right now causing a perfect storm. And it seems you guys are cutting through that with a number of very interesting marketing initiatives. And one of them is this TV web series that you mentioned. So tell us all about it because we're ready to be inspired.
Okay. So the TV series, the latest, so we were going to shut the whole thing down during COVID. I'll go sad for a second. Is two of the people in the original version of the series passed away, and they were like business partners and family of ours. Both his brother, sister, both got COVID. Both didn't make it, and so it didn't seem right to continue on with the series. But Pepsi came to us and said, we'd like to sponsor it. We're looking for content because everybody's home watching TV. And we sat down with the whole team and our producers. This might be actually an opportunity to memorialize the people we lost and wrap the season up. And that was the intention of what we filmed. It hasn't launched yet. There's only a trailer, which is at kingsoffishtv.com. But in the interim, like Amazon came in and said, we're going to put it on Amazon Prime. We really like the narrative and the story. And the other thing that happened in the middle of that, make it even more difficult for all the things you just mentioned, is we got evicted again and we had to move to a parking lot in March 3rd of 2023 because they're redeveloping the LA waterfront. And we knew this was going to happen. So we were semi-prepared. We just didn't have, it had been going on for so long. We couldn't really plan for it. So we moved to another parking lot where we set up shop in 60 days. We opened this temporary spot, and all the brand building we had done between Kings of Fish and social media and PR and everything else we were doing and community outreach, the brand was solid. People were still showing up to the parking lot. We pivoted with new technology so that we could give them a better experience at like a lower cost and time and energy to get them the products they wanted. Parking lot, 1,000 seats in a parking lot, by the way, 20,000 square feet. But it created a new storyline. There was a delay in launching it on Amazon. So in some ways it all worked out. So we re-edited the entire series around, oh my God, we're getting evicted. What are we going to do? We did all these other things. And so what you'll see when you watch this Amazon show coming out is the whole narrative behind how we coped with and dealt with being evicted a second time, going back to a parking lot and then preparing to launch a new offer. So it's super compelling stuff. I think people are going to love it. And all the teasers that we've done and tested have gotten really good responses.
So there's a lot of drama in there, and it wasn't all manufactured by you. It's real
That's real.
drama.
It's all real.
Some of it's very sad, and some of it is just real life happens sort of stuff.
Yeah, and I think that's what's important is the authenticity. Like what we talk to television companies and producers, like, would this be cool on your show? What would we need to do to be this on a major network? And it wouldn't be authentic. We'd have to be something we weren't, pretend we have plenty of fighting. I just don't need to document it. They wanted a drama that we weren't prepared to pretend to be. I had plenty of real drama going on in our business with everything else that we had. Third generation going on the fourth, family owned and operated for 60 years. Whether we have a whole season that's just on the pandemic that I don't even like to think about But I had people reach out to me recently going, "Oh my God, you're the only one to document. None of us in the restaurant industry want to remember it. You documented it. And it's such a reminder of what it took to survive that for those of us that made it through." And so I think, no, I wasn't intending that to be a documentary in that way, but we created a box and then people are finding a lot of value and in some places inspiration. So I think that's what's important, being authentic, inspirational, and not trying to be something you're not. People can see through that, TV or not.
So I'm sure you don't want to jinx it, but what is your vision? Because you said you're a visionary CEO. What is your vision for how this TV show is going to impact your business? Is there going to be multiple seasons? Do you
Yeah.
think it's going to inspire you to be the number one restaurant in the country? What are you planning and thinking here?
So as we started to zoom out and really look at what we have, we've got 3 locations now. We're doing well, even though one's in a parking lot, which is temporary. We'll be out of that soon, and we'll be building back where we started in 1982. We're also in talks with the city of Monterey in Northern California for a location on their waterfront. We're talking to the city of Anaheim to do something in and around the resort area where Disneyland is. So those are the restaurant offers. What I'm seeing as a visionary is we're really become more of a media company or a media brand. And that's really how I saw us. We've got the stories, we've got the content generation, we've got the restaurants to produce revenue. We're relaunching a whole e-commerce offer. And what I'm noticing is that on the B2B side, we're an enormous customer for many of our vendors. So we sold 200 tons of shrimp one year, right before the event. And we're not really like partnering with any of them to help us produce this and promote their businesses. So what we're doing now is we're actively speaking to everyone we buy tech from, everybody we buy products from, everyone we partner with on any kind of service about. We'd like to incorporate you into this season 2 and season 3 of this as we continue on these social platforms and on these streaming channels. How can we work together? I just spent like a whole weekend at the Chicago restaurant show. I guess it was last month. I'm losing. That might have been March. It's just basically meeting up with all of our vendors from Open Table and Yelp to companies we use for soap and cleaners and equipment. Like, we're building restaurants. We want to document it. We want to make you part of it. So that's how I see us moving forward. Is I think we can get to 10 locations by 10 years. And I think that the locations will be a small part of what we are as a company.
Wow, that's fascinating. Taking a family-owned restaurant business, making it into a media brand and an e-commerce company. That's a pretty big vision. That's a big challenge, and it's probably pretty exciting, yeah?
It is. And the way I look at it too is we've got a lot of people that work for us for 20, 30 years. We have a lot of new people that are working with us that are ready to go to college. And then we have a whole fourth generation of which is basically are their great grandchildren. They're like, how do I fit into this? And their mind goes to, I guess I just need to be really good at scrubbing floors and flipping fajitas. They're like, no, we need marketing, we need sales, we need finance, we need operation. Anything you go to school with, I can find a place to fit this in. I would rather hire from within than we do bring people from outside that have expertise we don't have. We have to be honest, well, we're dumb. I'm not good at this thing. Find someone that is. And it's hard to find someone who wants to come in and work with a family business, but we have. And what we're really doing is speaking this big vision to open a space for the people with us to see where they can make offers into helping it grow it. And that's working out pretty well. People are inspired by it and they're pursuing that. And we had our leadership meeting today with all the major parts of the company. And the head of our HR, who's a friend of mine, was like, I don't think you understand how many people have moved up that we thought there was no future for because they're starting to see where they can move to another location and become a GM. They can go and help with the HR department. There's a space in marketing where they can go and help with marketing. There's a social media opportunity. And now we're looking at producing all this content for the show. They're interested in how they can be part of that. My daughter works at CAA. I have another one that does voiceover for Netflix, another one that's a professional dancer. I didn't think they were going to ever come back, but I'm starting to think that I could create opportunities for them where they can come back and not have to be a fishmonger. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And I do hope that what you're doing inspires the restaurant industry, given that it's not the easiest of times. Even Hooters announced yesterday they were closing 40 locations, and it's maybe we're gonna miss that chicken wings. But I think that it's very tough out there, and so doing the sort of creative things that you're doing, I hope it inspires others to dig deep and say, even in a tough business, there is a path. So in that spirit, like, how do you think about marketing helping drive through these challenges? I'm just curious.
I
Like,
think there's two ways I look at it. I was thinking about this earlier today. One is you've got to tell your story because there's no shortage of food in the world. There's no shortage of restaurants. And even though they're suffering, people have a lot of choice. If you have a good story and you can incorporate your customer base into that story or make it relevant to the things they care about, they're helping really trying to create an experience where they have a feeling that they're going home with. You can be influential and remember, like we have customers to come in now, like I used to come here with my grandparents, and now I've got my kids. You are a memory for my family of what we did. You became a destination for it. So how can you do that in your business? It doesn't have to be the restaurant business, it could be any service that you're doing. Just don't make it transactional only because people see through that. And I'll give you one of the examples that we did. There was, man, I think it was, I want to say about 8 years ago, and you can find this on the San Pedro Fish YouTube channel. I think it's youtube.com/San Pedro Fish. There was a meeting I went to in the Port of Los Angeles. There were landlords at the time because we're on the Port of Los Angeles. That's where we're located. And I listened to all these kids go and speak one night at a strange board meeting. And they said, you know what, if you don't redevelop this area, I'm going to go to college and I'm never coming back. And I sat there going, oh my God, there's a lot of things not to like about the LA waterfront because there was issues with crime and traffic and different things. But this narrative it wasn't fair. And to have the kids speak that, I thought was really a little despicable because I think there was a strategy behind it that wasn't relevant. And I thought, I have to find a way to diffuse this because this is our hometown. We have 3 high schools, actually 4 now. And I think there's something we could do about this. So we reached out to the high schools and said, we're going to put a scholarship program. It's going to create a YouTube scholarship program. And what we're going to do is any kid can enter. All they have to do is go to YouTube and create a video telling everybody what they love about their hometown. And the ones with the most views will win $1,000 scholarship for college from us for each high school. And so we did that. It just took off. All these kids ran and they're filming their favorite spots. Some of them are producing music videos. They're going to all the like iconic areas in town that they like to go to, the famous sandwich places, the best place to watch the sunset. And so that got us a whole bunch of like free PR because the news stations were watching what was happening. I was getting all these views. They're all going to our YouTube channel and our name was in a lot. And one of the requests was, don't make us one of those places. It has to be anywhere but us because we're not looking for you to advertise us. We want you to advertise what's great about your city. But what that did was it created a narrative for people to see there's a lot of great things about our town. Doesn't necessarily have to be this one little area that people are upset about. And I'm really proud of that project. We did it for a few years. I think we stopped right when COVID hit because no one was in school, but it was cool and it was a lot of fun. And I'm like really proud of what we helping to shape story about our hometown.
that's great. So, what advice could you give to marketers who also might be like in a tough industry, in a tough spot, on what you learned in coming up with some of these creative ideas to
Mm.
keep your business going when a lot of things happen that are just out of your control, and COVID and the evictions and all these challenges that you've had to work through?
So one of my best business teachers said, when shit happens, give yourself 15 minutes to cope with it and move on. You can't really spend, which is emotionally difficult. First, you've got to be able to manage your mood. And you do that by being focused on what matters most. Like I got a family, I'm married, I got 3 daughters, I have a business and I have a family owned business and I have a lot of families dependent. Focus on that first and don't lose sight of that. And then it's like, how are we going to do this? And don't be a lone ranger about it. You've got to get as much help as you can and try to find the best people you can to help you. And some people say, I don't want to look stupid, so I'm only going to surround myself with people I'm smarter with. No, find the smarter people. Try to clear what you're doing, make sure it takes care of the things that you care about, learn as much as you can, keep your practices and ethics in place, and then go out there and just start killing it. Put out the offers, put out the stories, operationalize as much as of it you can when it's successful so it lowers the cost. And do all that around marketing. It's just, to me, it's all different versions of storytelling. And people want to know your story. They want to know your struggle. They want to know what you're after and how they can be part of it.
Amazing advice. Never be a lone ranger. I love that. And you got to tell a great. Next time that I'm out on the West Coast, I'm going to come out to LA and have one of those
Awesome.
big lobsters, probably a whole fish, probably a whole tray of shrimp while I'm at it. And I love to eat great seafood. So I'm going to come try it out. I'm going to link to your website
Great.
and your TV show in the show notes so people can go check that out. I hope people watch all of it when it's out on Amazon this fall. And I appreciate you joining today and
Yeah.
sharing your story and your insights. Appreciate it.
I would also add if you can't make it all the way to LA, you can order through goldbelly.com, or there should be a link on our website. We send those trays and you can cook them yourself in 10 minutes at home.
All right, I think I'm going to do that too. I'll link to that and I encourage everyone to try it out. Good stuff. Thanks again. We really appreciate it.
You got it. Thank you.